Hey guys, what's going on? Vega here from Serpent Special Forces, and yes, I got another RX 5700 XT. Why did I get another RX 5700 XT? Well, if you look at the 6000 series, they're very hard to get, and the 6800 and 6800 XT hash roughly about the same, but the price is exponentially higher, whereas the 5700, with a mem mod, we can get it up to around 60 mega hash, maybe a little bit more. I'm going to be showing you, well, I'm going to be installing it on my mining rig, first of all, but I'm going to be showing you the basic process of mem modding, first backing up the original BIOS, then using the RBE tool, Red BIOS editor to mod the memory timings, and then flash it, and maybe if we have to, force flash it, because I'm still getting a lot of questions on that. But first, if you look at the back of this GPU, we see that there's no thermal pads on the back. It does have a, copper heat pipes, nickel-plated copper, the whole 9 yards. And I believe this guy is called the AMD RX 5700 XT, 8GB D6 3DH. Yeah, long name. But it's just a basic one. No BIOS or dual BIOS or anything on that like that. There's no openings or holes for airflow on the back plate. So we're going to see how the memory performs when we're pushing it to the max. But first, let me get on the mining rig, and then we'll switch over to the computer. Happy holidays to anybody. All right, just barely clears the back here, but it will sit on there. Just get it set up. I already got my GPU riser right there. Just got to get everything connected, shut it down, and then switch over to the computer. All right, guys, so now we're over on the computer, and I first go to igorslab.de, and if you just go to the main website, at the top here, they got the links, and the one you want to click on is MorePowerTool, RBE, and at the top here, you just click the drop down and go to downloads and instructions, or you can scroll all the way down to the bottom and do the same thing, but you just want to get to the downloads and instructions page. I'm going to run through everything for you real quick. I have noticed that there's a difference in versions, so always get the latest version. So the MorePowerTool, I had 1.2. I'm going to download and get the latest one. We're not on the AMD machine. We're using my main machine, which is running an Nvidia GPU, so I'm not going to download it here. But you just click download, and it would download to your system. You're going to click download as well for the RBE tool, get the latest one. If you already have it installed on your machine, when you go to install it, it's going to ask you, do you want to install version 1.2, 1.06, whatever, and replace it with the new one. And I know it seems sketch, and you can see here, we want to get the latest tool, Flash Tool 3.04, as it works for all AMD cards. The 2.9.3 Plus works for just a 5700 XT. So we want 3.04 Plus. And the Plus is important because if we look up AMD VB Flash, which a lot of people do, and I understand why, one of the links that's going to come up and one of the more popular download spots is Guru 3D. However, they don't have the Plus. There is a difference between this version and the version that Igor is giving us. So when we click on Mirror New, even though it looks sketch, I trust Igor and Igor's Labs team to be trustworthy. So I just click download and get the version that I need. It does come with 2 files, and ChanCoin will quite honestly point out in comments that we want to make sure that we're running the INST tool 64 install tool prior to doing everything. I haven't had to do that. However, you may want to prior to flashing your GPU. But the most important thing, once you get all your tools installed on your system, is to always back up your BIOS. So we want to do that first. And let's go ahead and jump on the machine, and I will run through that process with you as quickly as possible because I don't want to take up too much of your time. So right now, I'm already mining on this system, and we're going to go ahead. Oh, this is the wrong one. That's the Nvidia system. Whoopsie. We're going to run on the AMD system. All right. So AMD, and you can see that we're getting 54.78 mega hash. The reason that is, normally you would get about 50, 51. The reason this is happening is because I already did this, but I haven't completed it. That's why it's only getting 54 mega hash. Also, the clocks are not as profound or not as good. it could be a lot better. This is the 5700 non-XT, even though it says XT because I modded it, and I can push the memory clock higher than 1800. When I do it on the PowerColor right now, anything above 1800 will crash the card. And that's the limitation of the power play tables or the MorePowerTool. So first things first, let's go ahead and go to my downloads where I have, and I like to save it with the date. Even though it says date modified here, I like to save every version I download with the date, so that way I know if I got the latest version. Because if one comes out in the future, I can tell, all right, this is an older one, so on and so forth. So I already have everything kind of preset here, but what I like to do is I like to create a batch file, right? And to create a batch file, you can just create a text document, and then, you know, we call it AMD VB flash, because that's the command we're going to need to run, or the program, and then whatever commands we can add later. But I hit File, Save As, and then over here where it says Save As Type, I just changed to all files, and we can do test.bat, and that's a batch file. And so I will be able to run any commands in here. Now I did something for you already, because I was going to link this in the description. I probably still am. This is a link to where all the commands are, but it's ATI Flash 3.95, so not all the commands apply. So what I would say is do me a favor and check the description below this video, because I already created a text document and extracted all that. All I simply did was I ran AMD, double-clicked AMD VB Flash. It's going to load here, and it's going to say, please hit any key to continue. And then I hit enter once, twice, 3 times. And then I left-click at the bottom here, Control-C, and then in my commands notepad, I can go ahead and paste everything. Control-A to, you know, select it all, Control-V to paste. And here's all the commands that we need. More importantly, what we need is -P, right, because this writes the BIOS. -I, because we always want to identify, we have a system with multiple GPUs, we want to identify the different GPUs, right? And then -F is no longer valid. So -F is what I showed in a previous video of mine to force flash the BIOS. So if you get a subsystem ID mismatch and so on and so forth, this is how you can bypass it. And -F no longer applies in this particular video, or in my past video, but it does apply in this one. It's just a little bit different. It's -FA. Force flashing, bypassing already programmed check. There's also -FP, force flashing, bypassing BIOS PN check, and so on and so forth. If you have to force flash, it really depends on the error you're getting. So if you're having issues, feel free to comment and hit me up, and I will do my best to get back to you. But basically, all we need to do is first save the BIOS, which I'm going to open up this batch file, and you can see that I already have everything set here to run and flash the GPU. But first, I'm running it with you. We're going to do -I to identify the adapter, Control-S to save, double click, and it's going to give us a list of adapters. And I forgot something because it's going to close out. Yep. Got to add pause. Control-S to save. And so we have adapter 0. It always starts with 0, 1, and 2. So 590 Polaris 30. The 5700 from ASRock, and then the PowerColor. And to check that, technically you can just go here, Control-C, you can go to your browser, type that in, and it should tell you what card it is. See, PowerColor. And if we actually copy the other one and paste it as well, we should see that it's ASRock. So there we go. So we know we need adapter 2. Adapter 2 is the one we want, okay? So an open for interpretation. So we need to put -S, the number, and then the name of the ROM that we want to save it as. And you can save it as whatever you want, you know. Let that load. And there we go. We have it saved. And the reason I like to verify this is because so test.xt is 1024, and if I go to GPU-Z it's only going to save it, and the file size is only going to be 512. Maybe it's a difference in saving it, but I feel like it's not grabbing the full BIOS. So I always like to use the AMD VB flash tool for my AMD GPUs, and then GPU-Z for my Nvidia GPUs, just FYI. So now we have that saved. Now we need to edit in the Red BIOS editor. So we're going to load, and I already have the stock one here. Right, I already backed it up where I needed to. I called it XTMem because, actually, let's go ahead and do this. So there's a power play table that I want to apply as well. So we're going to open up two separate windows. MorePowerTool, boom. All right. So first thing, I'm going to use the MorePowerTool to select adapter 2. We're going to load the stock BIOS. Which I am keeping in this folder, I believe. Nope. BIOS PowerColor. And there's the stock BIOS. And here's what I mean, by the way. You see how this says 512 kilobytes? But this one says 1024. This is from GPU-Z. This is from AMD VB Flash. So that's what I mean. So I'm going to select the stock BIOS. Alright, we got everything on here, overdrive limits, and this is where I like to play around with it. I want to up the memory maximum clock to 1000. I want to push it. Power voltage, we can drop down the minimum. The minimum, we can leave it alone. 750 is fine if we want to really bring it down that low. Frequency, I like to bump up the maximum sometimes. Like if I'm going to do some serious overclocking, I might go 2300. And I actually have a power play table from Tech Odin, Bearded Hardware, that works with Gamers Nexus on a number of streams, or he has his own channel. But I have a profile that I created for some serious overclocking where we're pushing the limits of these GPUs. And that's one of the reasons why the 5000 series is one of my favorites, to be honest. Everything else I can leave the same. It's primarily the maximum memory clock that I was concerned about. So we got that all set up. I'm going to leave the clocks and everything the same. And then we're going to do save. And then what I want to do is we're going to call it XT mem extend. Because the only thing, we're keeping everything stock, but we're only extending the memory. So we're going to hit save. Alright, that's saved. And now in the Red BIOS editor, we confirmed that we're seeing our card, right? Because we loaded it. We loaded that BIOS. And then I'm going to choose this MorePower play table, or SPPT. And now we need to copy the memory. Now, this one is Micron. This one is Samsung. Or no, excuse me. MT is Micron. K4 is Samsung memory. But we want to apply these timings to everything. So 1550 timings, we're going to copy that and apply it to the 1800, 2000s, and 2250. We want to make sure of that. So I'm going to save again. I'm going to call it XTMem. But then I'm going to switch tables to the Micron and do this exact same thing. But we can load it first to make sure that it kept our Samsung timings. Yep, see how everything's matching? Alright, good. Now we're going to go to Micron. Nothing here matches, so we're going to go ahead and apply that. Now, don't even bother trying getting the 1250 and applying it and all that stuff. I tried it. It's not going to do anything for you. So we got the maximum extension on the memory timings. We got the maximum extension on the power play table for the memory overall clock and everything. So save it at whatever file name you want and exit. Now in this command, what we're going to do is we don't need -F at all. If you wanted to, you could do -FA again to remove any limits. Let's see here. Let me read this to you one more time. So force flashing bypassing the already programmed check. Force flashing bypassing the BIOS PN check is -FP. So -FA, -FP. -F is not needed anymore for this particular one. So we got everything we want. We're going to save it. And we got the adapter in there. That's very important. So -P, the adapter, so number 2, and then the name of the file that we're going to run. And then we're going to execute and let it flash. It's very important to always have a backup of your BIOS somewhere. So there we go. we want to restart the system to update the Vbios. Boom. Alright, so let's restart the system and we'll be right back. What I like to do personally is I like to restore or install the driver. This is my favorite driver. It's the 12.4.2 April edition. I have a mega download that I'll link to in the description below. But what I noticed with the 5000 series is when I do a BIOS mod or adjust the memory mod, do the memory mod with the Red BIOS editor and then apply it, it sometimes has issues even though it shouldn't, and so I just reinstall drivers and everything, and I always start low. If you see here, the core clock could be a lot low, core voltage could be a lot lower than that, the core clock could be a little bit lower than that, and the memory clock rather than the stock is at 1800 right now, and I can adjust that up or down however I want. I do it increments of 5 or 10, big increments of 20 sometimes, but once we start finding where it starts to crash, it's all about tuning it. And that's pretty much it. Now, not all 5700s are going to perform like others. So if you got a buddy that's got a 5700, XFX stick and they're getting 62 mega hash, you may not be able to get that with your PowerColor card. So every card, even if they're from the same manufacturer, same model, is going to perform differently, and you want to just tune it and clock it based upon what you see physically. See with your eyes. If I hit 1840 on the mem and it crashed, and maybe I want to do 1830 or 1835 or whatever I can get away with so we don't crash. Granted, we might only be able to get 56 to 58 mega hash rather than 60 with this PowerColor, but that's perfectly fine. To me, the 5000 series is still very relevant in the mining space because, for 200 to almost 250 less, depending on which model you get, rather than getting the 6800 XT, I can get a 5700 and get close to the hash rate, because some people are reporting 64, 62, 65 mega hash on a 6800 XT, and the 5700 series can get right at the heels of that, 58, 60, somewhere in there. So for 5 extra mega hash or 10 extra mega hash, an extra $200 to me is not worth it. But that's up to you. This video I just wanted to show you, go through the steps with you. If you have any questions, definitely hit me up in the comments and check out the links in the description below. I'm just going to install the drivers and get to tuning, guys. So you have a great day. Do me a favor on the way out, hit the like button, subscribe for more content like this, and again, hit me up in the comments if you have any further questions. I'll see you guys later, and thanks for watching all the way to the end.